everybody, with another episode of 1019, the Watch Commander at the shortstop. And we have been waiting a week to do this. And here we are. And Captain Mike's here. What's happening, Captain Mike?
Oh, there's a surprise. Yeah. Hey, what's going on, guys?
I didn't know you were going to be here tonight. That's awesome.
Yeah. Where else? Hey, dude, where else would I be?
Where else am I going to be on a Tuesday night?
I got nothing.
Special guest tonight is Donovan Heaver, all the way from the state of Washington. Donovan and I are about 2 hours, hour and a half, 2 hours apart. 2 hours.
Hour and a half we are.
Hour and a half. So, look, guys, look who's here. Michael Bornman's here.
Oh, and, I know that guy.
That's pretty cool. And Dale Hedges has a lot to say tonight. Dale Hedges saying,
What's up? And, we shouldn't laugh. Maybe something happened to him mid-sentence, right?
You hit the what do you ever be in the middle of something typing and all of a sudden you accidentally hit the enter? Ah!
Oh yeah.
Where's the rest of my thing? And who else is here? GJ is here saying hi to Dale. And who else is all here tonight? Kevin says my volume is really low.
There you go.
How am I now? Does this sound better?
Yeah, groovy.
Yes. I was doing I got a new headset, people. Mm-hmm. Got a new headset. And so I found out that my volumes, I'm working with 3 different things on volume control. And so now I think I figured it out. I think so. So if this volume works for everybody, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
And Passe wants to let me know that my volume is very low. So Sonia is here. Sonia, how are you? And let's see what else is going on. And again, Michael Bornman is here.
He's active tonight.
He's very active. Michael Bornman is very active. And so, guys, we're very excited here. Before we get started, we're kind of chewing the fat with Donovan. And Donovan, are you drinking water tonight?
I am not drinking water tonight.
Not drinking water. So I want to bring this up because Michael Bornman brought it to my attention that, Michael, what's this all about?
Well, this is about a blood drive in memory of Deputy Ryan Klinkenbloomer. It got my attention because it's in Santa Clarita at Henry Mayo Newhall Hospital, which is freeway close, folks. So make sure you get out there and donate some blood in the name of Ryan. I'd appreciate it. I know his family would appreciate it as well.
Yeah, it looks like it's on October 7th at 10 to 4. 10 to 4.
Yeah. Henry Mayo is very easy to find right off the freeway.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. It seems that they're doing that.
Yeah. I do have to say, just to change the topic a little bit, Donovan's background is making me feel like I'm smoking crack. It is just incredibly bright, and I thank you.
Well, yeah.
Do you have memories of something like this?
No, sadly, I have memories of something like the shortstop at a little old ratty building that's in disrepair. And Donovan's got hey, Donovan, tell him about this background that you got.
Yeah, so I actually just spent last week in Wisconsin, and this is a local establishment in Wisconsin that's kind of a rite of passage when you turn 21. Pretty much everyone in the state goes to Cleo's bar because it's Christmas 365 days out of the year. So
Christmas.
Sign me up.
Lots of good memories at this bar. So
great.
I have a friend that on Christmas, they live for Christmas, and every Christmas she posts something that says, only 364 days till Christmas. So people, and then I have other friends that love Halloween. I've never gotten that part where people like live for Halloween. I know a couple that went to Vegas and got married on Halloween because I don't know.
That would be scary.
That would be scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've got a couple of Halloweeners too that they live for it.
Yeah, I don't know.
They live
got into.
They live
the candy.
The day of the Dead, right?
Of what?
I'm living for the Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. So for
Uh,
you guys that don't know, Donovan Heavener, Donovan's a friend of mine. We've been friends for a few years. We'll get into that a little bit. But Donovan was a police officer in Wisconsin. You're a sergeant in Wisconsin, right?
For a bit, yep.
You moved to Washington State and decided to start a police department with other people who were police officers. And then what year are we talking about? In 2021. The big deal for me with Donovan was that he was minding his own business, saw some burglars. He didn't go after them, but they decided to shoot him. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about the Special Olympics in Washington. But Donovan, should I play the video first, or should I? I'm going to play it. So
Wait, he says no, so go ahead and roll it.
Roll it.
That means go for it. So I'm going to play this video, and it's about Donovan. I guess he came home from the hospital. Where is it? Hang on. I'm going to be right back because I got to get this thing to play.
Do you need your producer?
Nah, what happens is it covers up. The thing covers up. Annoying.
Hey, Ken, somebody just texted me and said you're still coming in pretty softly to them. I don't know what else to tell you.
I can raise my volume, but I don't want to blow other people out. Is anybody else having a problem with the volume? Because I can raise it. I don't have a problem with that. I figured it all out. I'm almost peaking on this thing. So you tell me. I'll raise it up if you want me to. Just a second. Okay, here we go. Get this going here. Wait a minute.
I think Donovan should be behind the switch there, pal.
Right?
Oh, I hate this thing. I hate this thing because there's a button that gets in the way. Yep, there it goes.
Officer Donovan Heavener has been with the Federal Way Police Department for 27 years. He's also the state director of the Special Olympics Washington Torch Run campaign. A week ago today, he was shot and almost killed in Puyallup while off duty. And tonight, the suspects are still at large. Well, now he is out of the hospital, recovering at home, being held a hero. So thanks for joining us for your News at 10. I'm David Rose. Officer Heavener was out for his morning run when he says he witnessed a burglary in progress. He called 911, and then he was shot by one of the suspects. Tonight, he talked with Fox 13 News reporter Jennifer Lee in this exclusive interview.
This is one from Kayla who just, get better real soon.
Support is pouring in for Officer Donovan Heavener.
They draw great pictures. The athletes are fabulous at drawing pictures.
From the Special Olympics athletes to community members who'd pay him visits at the Federal Way Police Department.
We have our pictures together quite a bit, so it's. And then she also gave me this little picture here as well, with her little high five, so I can get a high five from her whenever I need one.
All of this is aiding in Officer Heavener's recovery.
I just saw the two guys putting a strap on the door, and I knew what they were up to, so I just tried to stay out of sight and call 911.
Heavener says he was on a morning run in Puyallup last Sunday when he saw two suspects trying to break into Jennings equipment.
But they saw me, and that's when they hopped in their trucks and took off. One guy went across the street and got out of his truck. I couldn't see what he was doing, and then that's when I felt the pain in my stomach.
People are coming at him and shooting at him. He says he is walking.
It was hard for me to breathe, just trying to let him know where I was at, what was going on. I knew I had to get out into the middle of River Road to try to get someone in traffic to stop in order to help me.
Officer Heavener nearly died from his injuries. He's giving credit to all of the first responders, from Puyallup Police to Pierce County Fire, and the doctors and nurses who treated him at the hospital for saving his life.
I was fortunate. I really lucked out. I think that's part of the reason why I'm recovering so well.
The well wishes are also having a powerful impact.
People have used the term hero, which I don't understand. I mean, I didn't do anything heroic. I did what I was supposed to do.
Officer Heavener says his recovery will take some time, but the care and appreciation from the community is helping him get stronger every day.
We hear a lot of the hate that goes on towards law enforcement, and to get the support from the community that I've gotten is reassuring.
In Puyallup, Jennifer Lee, Fox 13 News.
That was. I think I might have seen that. Is my volume okay, guys? Everybody
Yep.
okay with this?
Yep.
We're happy with it.
I like your volume, Ken.
You guys sound good to me. I hope. Do I sound good to you? I don't know. Maybe there's some kind of something going on.
Hey,
the
Donovan, I got a stupid question. Where is Federal Way?
Federal Way it's about 45 minutes south of Seattle. We border the north side of Tacoma, so we're in the metropolitan area. We're one of the suburbs of Seattle. So,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, if you ever hear about the craziness in Seattle, and then the King County prosecutor who handles all of King County, we are actually on the south end of the county that Seattle sits in. So, we've been a dumping pot for many years of everyone in the county. So.
And did you have to retire as a result of this, or what happened?
Eventually, yeah, I did. I just retired at the end of last year. Basically, I couldn't get myself out of the light duty status. I mean, I was teaching at the academy. I didn't need to stay. I didn't need to keep a full duty status. They said they were good with me at the academy, but if I was working, I wanted to get back out on the road at some time. I wanted to do some real patrol work, and I'm just not able to do that anymore. So I figured it was time for me to just hang things up. And Ken always jokes saying, "Well, you're not really retired." So
I just because you're like the Energizer Bunny. You kind of retired from the police department, but it's not because you wanted to. You just it's time to go. But getting shot is no joke. And you tried. How long did you try after all that happened? Did you try and continue on?
Would have been just over 2 years. I tried to hang in there. So
yeah.
Yep.
So tell us what happened. I mean, I know the story, but how did this happen?
There was the news story. Well, it's funny you mentioned how some people like Halloween. I absolutely detest Halloween now because this happened at 7:04 a.m. on Halloween 2021. So I hate Halloween now. But I was out on a run. It was, still COVID going on. So there were no in-person runs going on. So I was doing one of those virtual 10Ks. And at that point, I was still running half marathons and marathons. And just on my run, I needed some extra miles. I made the poor decision, I guess, that I would go down a road that I just never liked going down. It was all businesses, shady crap would always happen there. And I was just running, and I ran past this Jennings equipment that they sell like chainsaws, tractors. It's more of a farming implement place. And I saw these two trucks there at 7:00 in the morning, and they're wrapping straps around the door handle. And I'm like, well, I can put two and two together. I'm not a smart guy, but I know this isn't what's supposed to be going on. So there was a telephone pole right at the corner where the store was at. So I thought I'd hide behind that and start calling 911. The important thing I forgot though is I was running in the dark sometimes on the street, and I had the high vis yellow on, so I wasn't really able to hide behind the telephone pole. They saw me. They ended up grabbing the straps. Each of them hopped into a truck because there were two trucks, and they pulled out of the lot. And this is the part that I guess just always baffles me. I don't ever remember that one of them turned towards me and drove in front of me. But that's what happened. One drove in front of me, shot me as he was going by. And at first I didn't believe it. I'm like, this isn't happening. I remember hearing two pops and I thought, this isn't real. And I reached for my stomach because I had a pain in my stomach, and put my hand on my stomach and looked at my hand, and I'm like, well, there's no pain, there's no blood, and I'm in pain. This is not going to be good. So yeah, that was scary.
I can imagine. That's pretty ballsy to take the time to point and shoot at a guy instead of just peeling out.
Well, and that's the thing. He never stopped because I saw the video. There was video from one of the stores there, and he never stopped. Driving by, I mean, either he was a really good shot or just really lucky, and I'm going with lucky. But yeah, he shot as he was driving by. There was no slowing down or anything. He just peeled out of there, and just shot out the window.
Did they ever catch him?
So they have never formally charged anyone. They believe that they have the 2 people in custody on unrelated charges. And that's kind of that's where it stands. I kind of figured, I mean, they were wearing masks, because it was COVID. Me and my wife, from the very beginning, just said, this is going to go unsolved. It's fine. I live a good life. I survived this. I'm going to survive longer than any criminal is going to survive in the type of lifestyle that they need to live. So I just had peace since the very beginning with that.
And did you call the cops, or did someone see you and call the cops?
No, I actually, right when I started the hide, I was calling 911, and they picked up just as I got shot.
And this is the city that you worked in, right? Yeah.
No, this is not the city I worked in. This is the neighboring city. This is where I lived. I lived in a neighboring city. So,
wow.
So yeah. So, and I identified myself as a police officer right away. So, so that, they knew that, it was a cop that was shot, and, if they needed to take any precautions. I wasn't, that morning I decided not to carry. Normally I carry on my morning runs, but I didn't that day for some reason. Not that it would have helped me in any way, shape, or form, but
Yeah.
it might have given me a little peace of mind,
Yeah.
Did you think you were going to die?
Yeah. So after I got shot and the trucks were gone, I had looked across the road, and there was a guy walking towards me, and I thought he was the one who shot me. So I told the dispatcher, I said, the guy's coming at me. I got to go. And I got out into the middle of the road, and I ran about 150 yards down the middle of the road, trying to flag cars down. And at that point I could just feel that I was just losing it all. And I went to the side of the road, and it was the weirdest thing. They did let me to listen to the 911 tape. And there was one point where I said, I think I'm dying right now. So my wife didn't handle that one very well.
Well,
but it was tough. And yeah, and then when they get you to the hospital, knowing that you're a cop, anyone who's ever been involved in a shooting goes to the hospital, the ER staff, they always like stand alongside the walls. And when I saw that, to me, it was like, oh man, this is not good. This seems like a death procession for me. So I was questioning whether I was alive or not at that point when I got to the hospital.
okay. Well, when did you decide you were going to make it?
So thank God for my trauma team. So it was the doctor is a little Filipino guy, and he hopped on the side of my cart, and he just looked me in the eye. He's like, I got you. You're going to be okay. So I thought, okay, I'm going to be good. And then he lifted up my shirt and he said, oh.
That's encouraging.
I just looked at him and said, I didn't want to hear that. He's like, no, you'll be fine.
Nurse.
But they wheeled me right into the OR, and yeah, and after that, I mean, they put me to sleep real quick. There was no stopping in the ER or anything. Yeah. I went to sleep, and I woke up in my room fighting with them as they were trying to give me a COVID test.
What?
It was COVID. Yeah. I mean, they tested everyone in the hospital. They didn't test me till I got back to my recovery room, but my wife was just like, just let them test you. Let them test you. And I'm fighting with them. I'm like, you're not going to test me.
So you're in the street. There's kind of an interesting part to this where you're laying in the street, and somehow your wife, Tina, how did she come to this?
So I have an app that I use that tracks my runs, and it gives her a notification. She can look at where I'm at anytime during my run. But if I stop for 2 minutes, it sends her an alert that there's a problem. And I had been stopped for 2 minutes. She got an alert, and she's like, oh, geez, what's going on? And she looked at it, and she saw I was running the wrong way away from the house at that point. So she just figured it must have been a bathroom emergency. I'm heading towards the grocery store or something. And then I stopped again. She got another alert. And then when she looked, she could just see me like speeding down the roadway. And she's like, he's not running anymore. And she could hear the sirens. So she knew something was up. And at that point, she was trying to call me. And at some point during my ride to the hospital, or when I got there, one of them, either the firefighters or one of the officers, answered my phone for me and then talked to her. Because at that point, I could barely breathe. There was so much blood building up inside of me. I was bleeding internally.
That sounds like it would hurt.
It did burn a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've never. Oh, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say I'm glad my wife doesn't have one of those trackers on me. She'd be worried all the time because I would
My
stop
wife
for
has-
more than 2 minutes.
My wife has one on me, but she never checks it. So I don't know what that means. Did you? You know, it's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever asked you this. Did you ever have like what those experiences where you think you're gonna die or you fall asleep in the operating room or something and nothing?
I
You just
had
woke up?
I had no outer body experience or anything like that. I just fell asleep and woke up.
Did your wife yell at you after?
No, surprisingly, she did not. So I was happy about that. To my surprise, she was actually concerned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is too private or not, but I don't think I've ever asked you. So what was the damage?
So the damage was so at 50, what they joked about me, 52 years old, I finally got my appendix taken out because that got damaged. And then I had a section of my large and small intestine removed because it hit kind of right where the connection is. And I mean, I always make the joke. It's really kind of a shitty topic to get on, but it's there's a little valve there where the large and small intestine meet that allows all the waste. It lets the waste go through at little bits. And that's now missing. So I'm on medications to just control my, functions so that I can live a normal life. So my wife didn't tell me, the doctor didn't tell me until like a week and a half after the incident that there was a possibility that I could have had a colostomy bag the rest of my life. So I avoided that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll tell you. Yeah, exactly, Mike. Oh crap.
Well, you know what? I'm not trying to make fun. I'm just going to point
It's
something
fine.
out. But if you remember the Sons of Katie Elder, when John Wayne shot that kid that was shooting at him on the rock, and he hit him in the stomach, and the kid says, "A man don't stand a chance when he's gut shot," and that's back then it was true, right? Because you'd get sepsis and you were on your way out.
Yeah.
I don't know why my brain went to John Wayne and this kid getting shot, but it just reminded me of how serious abdominal wounds can be.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was one of the things is for the first week while I was in the hospital, they never stitched me up or anything. They just had sponges in the big incision to soak up because I did. There was a lot of fecal matter that emptied into my stomach, so they had to make sure that was all removed
bet.
before they sewed me up. So
That's super dangerous. I can't remember what it is, but if the fecal matter gets into cause infection, I can't remember what the name of that is. But there was an LAPD
Peritonitis.
Yeah,
Peritonitis.
yeah.
okay, yep.
There was an LAPD officer that died from that, and that's the first time I heard about it. But that's pretty bad. You kind of lucked out. Zippy called it right. You had an angel watching over you.
I did. I know I did, and I didn't listen to the angel because there's a couple things I left out. So that morning when I got up, my dog would always run with me, and I told my dog, I'm like, "Hey, let's go. It's time for a run." He would not get out of bed that morning. He stayed there. Would
the dog
not
knew.
move. He
Don't
knew.
go.
He knew. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My therapist says I shouldn't fall back on that, but I think the dog knows better than me. So I
Yep.
listen to him now. If he says he's not going to run, I'm not running either. So
Well, you're back to running because you got something exciting coming up.
I am. I mean, it's been a long haul. This go around now, probably for 2 months. I've been on a normal schedule. I'll still have days where I just mentally can't get out of bed and do it. But I'm getting better. I've gotten to the point now where I don't need to run with a gun. I was always running with a gun all the time, but where I'm at now, the only thing I need a gun for is if a bear or a mountain lion hops out at me. So I figure I have a better chance against them than the bad guys. But yeah, I'm out running now on a regular basis. I'd like to get myself back up to half marathon running again, but I'll just get myself to a 5K right now. We'll work to that.
Well, good. Are you able to share your exciting news of what's coming up?
I am, and like everyone saw in the little news clip there, Special Olympics is a program that is near and dear to my heart. It's something that when I got into law enforcement back in 1994, I was invited to work an event. It was they call it Tip a Cop, and it was at a Red Lobster. Had no idea what it was for. I was the new guy. I was on probation. Someone said, "Hey, can you come over and do this as a volunteer thing?" New guy can't say no, right? So I went. I had a great time, and then I got this letter thanking me for everything I did for Special Olympics, and started looking into it, and kind of stayed with it after that. Worked some events, but then I got really heavily involved in the law enforcement torch run for Special Olympics back in Wisconsin when I was there. Helped start up the first run with the cops in Wisconsin when I was there at my old agency, where we set a goal of bringing in, I think it was 10 or 15,000. I think we brought in 20 or 25,000 our first year, and that run still continues today, bringing in a lot of money for Special Olympics. So I do the polar plunges, all that, but this year I've been selected to represent Washington State at the International Law Enforcement Torch Run over in Italy, kicking off the Winter Games for Special Olympics. So I leave sometime the last week of February, and I'll be in Italy with the torch run for 10 days.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a retired commander on our department. I don't know if you know him, Mark McCorkle. He is heavily involved in that, along with his wife, Jerry. You're smiling.
Yep.
I'm
I know
assuming you
Mark.
know who it is.
I know Mark. He's the one who he's actually the lead of the International Torch Run. So he's running the whole campaign that when we go over to Italy, he is the man.
Yeah, he's been into that for years and years.
Yeah. Great guy. I've had lots of conversations with him. Yeah.
And the Special Olympics, the kid, I don't know if they're kids, but I think they're probably adults too, but they still bring tears to your eyes.
They do. They I got a soft spot because you see everything that they go through. And I tell you what, and that's what always baffles me in that story. Someone called me hero, and they had the moniker humble hero, which my wife does not let me live down at all. But you go to those games and you get all the high fives, you get the cheering, you get everything from those athletes. You feel like you're lifted up on their shoulders because they just love law enforcement so much. And I always have to remind them when I go talk to them, I'm like, guys, you really are my hero with everything that you do, the obstacles that they overcome just in order to compete in those games. And it doesn't matter if you're giving them a gold medal or if you're giving them one of the, 6th, 7th, 8th place ribbons. They're just excited to get that from law enforcement. So I always tell any cops, anyone involved in public safety, you don't have to be a police officer. You can be a dispatcher, you can be a records clerk, you can be whatever it is in public safety. You can go to the games, you can volunteer to hand out medals to the athletes. You do it one time, you're hooked.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'd take the trip to Italy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I'll hand out all the awards you want, man.
Did you know that Donovan started a police department in Washington?
Only through you. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I didn't solely start the police department, but
yes, you did.
Yeah, so the city of Federal Way actually incorporated into a city in 1990. In 1995, through that time they were contracting with King County Sheriff's Department. And in 1995, the city council decided that they were being charged too much from the sheriff's department. They could run it cheaper. So they went ahead and made the decision that they would start their own police department. In August of 1996, I was hired. I was the 16th officer hired for the department. And at the time, it was a city of 75,000 people. We had to hire 100 officers in under a year. So I got hired in August of 96. We were taking over all traffic operations September of 96. In October of 96, we took over all police operations from King County Sheriff's Department. We ran with, how cops will talk about a skeleton crew. We were missing bones off the skeleton when we were running our crews. Our day shift right now, I think our minimum is 8 officers for day shift. And we were running with 2 officers to begin with. So it was a challenge, but I got to do a lot of great things. I helped start up the traffic unit, and I was a motor officer for several years. I started up our traffic reconstruction team. Did a lot of work with volunteers, getting volunteer programs started up in the city. So it was a great opportunity, and the department continues to grow. The city's over 100,000 now, and we're up to 150 officers now at the department. And it's kind of funny because now is the time all those officers that started back in '96. They're all getting to that retirement age. So it's like a mass exodus just leaving there right now because everyone's like, yep, we put our time in, we're heading out.
Yeah.
Do they put up with all the same anti-cop bullshit that we're putting up with in LA?
The good thing was we had a city council and we had a city that backed us very strongly through all of that. There was, community members coming in saying that they needed to, get rid of some of our staff and all that. But the majority of the community stood up and said, nope, not at all. We need them. And actually, during COVID, we actually increased our staffing by 13 officers. So we actually increased our numbers during COVID when everyone else was starting to lose people.
Cool. Well, there's some hope, I guess, at least for Washington State.
Yeah, there is. There's pockets of hope here in Washington State. There's good departments and there's not so good departments. So
Yeah. I'm checking out my volume. I one
you're
time,
really worried.
well, one time I did a live and the volume got all wonky and it sounded like I was screaming into the mic. It was all like that the whole time and I didn't even know it. And so my concern is that people are saying the volume's low, so I cranked it up. But I'm at the end result. I hope it's okay. Betsy wants me to get louder. Oh my gosh, I'm cranking up this thing, man. I'm telling you guys. And I hope when we get done that I'm not blasting everybody out. But we'll see. We'll see. They don't have to hear what I have to say. I mean, it's
Right.
not that important. But
Well, you don't seem to be doing well there.
I'll just leave. I'll just take off. It
Yeah.
only happens on YouTube. It's the weirdest thing. And when we do the podcast, I don't remember having any problems there.
Mhm.
But at any rate, I think it's because I'm recording it and going live and all that kind of stuff. But what can I say? Yeah. So you spent almost 29 years doing police work. Do you have any special stories? I don't know if I ever asked you if you had any war stories. Mike wants to know about war stories because, like war stories.
Well, I live vicariously through everybody else. So
War
Tell us what-
stories.
tell us what you got.
I would say my funniest story is, again, new department, young department. We didn't know all the people who had mental health issues in our city, and we learned them very quickly as a group. But I remember we got a call of a lady who had barricaded herself in her apartment and was hearing voices. And we're like, okay, so we go over because, again, barricaded in her apartment to try to get in. Heard screaming and everything. We didn't know what was going on. These are the days that, when someone's barricaded, we went in. We had to save the day. We start trying to get in there. We were able to pry her door open. So it pulled out towards us, and all of a sudden we found out she actually had bricked herself in her apartment. All of her windows, her door, everything was all bricked up. She used mortar. She used everything. We had to get sledgehammers just to get into the place, to get to her and take care of her. That was one of the weirdest ones I've ever had. And then she painted the the walls with some of her bodily fluids. So it wasn't a good thing either. But everyone talks about these big chases and everything. I always go back to when we have the people who are suffering from mental health issues, because they can do some really weird things, and that was the weirdest thing I ever had to encounter. I've never had anything like that after that one encounter. That was just bizarre.
It's kind of gross sounding.
It is. And then we had to handcuff her, take her out of there. Yeah, it was not good. I'm just glad I wasn't junior and she didn't have to go in my rig. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, we had a call one time where this 82-year-old lady, she would hear voices and she thought that there were aliens in her attic, and she would put aluminum foil on all the windows. She wore a hat that she made out of aluminum foil. And it was weird because she was renting out a place in the back of her house, and the people called and said she was acting crazy, and I'm like, well, duh, and we get there, and she comes out, and she's this old lady, and she's got an apron on, and she's got her hands in her apron pocket, and she walks up, and one of the renters go, she's got a gun in her apron. And I'm like, no way. So I go up and I go, hey, take your hands out of your pockets. And she goes, no. And as I reach for her, she pulls out the gun and sticks it into my stomach. Yeah, it brings you back, right?
Mhm.
And thank God I was younger then. I was quick enough to snatch it away. But there, some people would be crazy.
Mhm.
And I don't know how I would have explained being shot by this 82-year-old grandmotherly looking lady, but yeah, the cover doesn't always tell you what's in the book, right? And
Mhm.
that's there's Ken, you got a story like that about crazy people?
I'm sure I have a lot of stories like that, but that story reminds me of the laser lady in LA.
There you go.
There was one time I was driving down the street with Pico Boulevard, and this lady, I was all by myself, innocent and young as I was, and this lady came out just in her underwear, and she had these really big boobs, and when she was running, and she come right up to my door. I rolled up the window. I don't know what she wants. I'm innocent.
You
I'm
was
pure.
scared?
I was probably a virgin at the time. And she came up and she started banging on my window, and I shut on my radio. I said, need a car back up for a 415 woman. And I just got it lifted at that. And I think, what was it, 390 if someone's naked? 390, something like that. And I just got the cavalry there. And when I didn't want to touch her, I don't think anybody wanted to touch her because you don't know what's going on with her. Not that it's not abnormal in LA to be walking around naked, running around, but still, you don't want to be touching these people.
Yeah, but so she pointed a couple of 45s at you.
I think I blanked out after that. I think I was so traumatized I can't remember the aftermath of that happening. But there's a multitude of naked people. There's a multitude of naked people. What's 390's drunk? That's right. What's the one
314 is what
Indecent exposure.
TJ,
Yeah.
Okay, so she was 314. But I mean, there was apparently she wanted me bad. I'm sure that was it.
I'm sure she planned her whole night on that.
And those black and whites, they're like magnets. They're like babe magnets,
Yeah,
they just run after you naked. So much so that they got to rip their clothes off and run to your car.
Oh my Lord.
That's what happened with me. That was just one
Good
naked
Lord.
story. Yeah. Naked people, I don't know. I'm pretty shy.
Yeah, you know what I found is because I worked 4 years at a college campus too. I found that in a city department or sheriff's department, if you get a call about a naked person, everyone just kind of goes the other way.
Yeah.
But when you work on a college campus, you get a call about a naked person, everyone goes to it.
Well, on a college campus, your odds are good there. But,
Right. Yeah. So,
well, I do remember during the PCP days, you'd end up with a lot of naked people running, naked and sweaty,
yep.
and like greased pigs trying to grab hold of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we got in fights with PCP suspects, and they were never tiny people. Never.
No. And they always start out growling.
Oh,
right?
God, they're so strong.
They are. Yep. Yeah.
Incredible.
I
got stories about that, but that's for another time. And it makes me nervous even today talking about it.
We're not going to talk about that.
The odds are they're against you when it's you against somebody high on PCP.
Even if there's 4 or 5 cops, it's because you're right. They're all sweaty, and you're trying to grab their arm and their wrist, and they're going just.
And they're terrified of uniforms, and there are things accoutrements that we have that set them off.
Accoutrements.
Yeah.
I think Steven nailed it. There are a million stories in the naked city.
Yep.
A million naked stories.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's back. I don't even remember all those things, but yeah, the some of the patrol stories. I think if I wish that I had written a lot of this stuff down. Otherwise, I just kind of remember them
Yeah.
randomly.
Yeah.
I've been writing stuff down actually for the last couple of years because something will key in my head that somebody will do something or say something. I'm like, oh yeah, that reminds me of this, and I go write it down. Donovan, have you done that?
I've not written anything down at all. I should, but I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, well, Ken, we had Dale Hedges on a little while back, and
Mhm.
that guy, his memory, man, is like an elephant, and he remembers details of things that happened decades ago.
Mhm.
I'm lucky to remember what I had for breakfast. Nothing
Yeah.
today,
Yep.
by the way, but yeah,
Yep.
you know,
Same way.
you get
Well, I had
stuff after a while. Stuff leaks out.
I had a ton of good stories. I mean, just really wild times working patrol, and I just probably don't remember. I probably remember just a quarter of them. But
Yeah.
there's some wild capers, man, working patrol back in the day. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
Mhm.
that's what I think that's why we got in the job, right? You
That
don't
was a
do
real-
it. You don't wear that uniform to pass out lollipops to kids. You wear that uniform to. You're the one going through the door. You're the one chasing the bad guy. You're the one running toward the danger.
Mhm.
It's an exciting lifestyle, but it can take a toll. It
It
can kick your
does.
ass.
Mhm.
And
It is
Yeah.
a silent killer.
yeah,
It is. It is. Yeah.
just yeah.
So I got another story for when I was a recruit, and this one you guys won't be able to comprehend because it deals with snow. So I was in FTO. We had a burglary that happened at a house. We get there, pretty fresh, and it had been snowing. So my FTO says, "All right, we don't have any canines. Get out. You're going to start tracking." So I hopped out, and there I was running from the house, following the footprints. My FTO following alongside of me on the road. He sees me going between the houses and stuff. Finally, I started getting back between houses, and I didn't know I was working for a sheriff's department. I didn't know the contract city we were in. I didn't know the streets. Start following these, and I mean, that was back in the days. You guys remember when the academy was maybe like 2 hours long, and you were done. They didn't teach you all the tactics and everything. Didn't know you're supposed to make wide sweeps around corners and stuff. And I'm just following the tracks, and lo and behold, I make a curve around the house, just kind of make a quick turn, and ended up tripping over the guy. He was trying to hide right there.
Oh, jeez.
And I get up, and I pick myself up. I look at him. He's just laying on the ground. I'm like looking at him. He's looking at me. I'm like, I don't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do. I'm like, I think you're under arrest.
I think.
Get up. And then,
Well, you didn't know.
didn't know yet. I was still too new. I'm on the radio with my FTO. He's like, "Where you at?" I'm like, "I'm between a White House and a White House," and we're walking out to the road. It took him a couple minutes to find me, but all of a sudden we come walking out. I didn't use handcuffs, anything. The guy who broke in was very cordial with me. He's like, "Oh, I'll come with you." We walk out, and next thing I know, my FTO shows up. Another cop shows up. They just rip him. They throw him on the car. They're handcuffing him and stuff. I'm forever scarred by that butt chewing I got from that FTO as to why I didn't handcuff him and all that. I'm like, I didn't know you weren't
Stupid
there to help
child.
me.
How long was your academy?
My academy was 320 hours when I went through.
What?
320 hours.
Well, divide that into weeks for me. I'm not that smart, man.
I don't know. Let me
Wait,
see.
ours was 16 weeks. I think it's up to like 20 something now.
Ours
But,
was 24. We were 6 months, and it was 960 hours. And I think 100 hours of it was Spanish.
Nine weeks.
9
My
weeks.
My
Well, there you
academy,
go. A little
9
over 2
weeks.
months.
And it was the whole academy was taught by an old retired Milwaukee PD officer, Jerry Dunning. He was about 70 years old.
Jerry Dunning.
And he did everything.
Now, when you got to jump on your horse to chase somebody.
Yeah, he He did our defensive tactics training and everything. It was a good time.
Oh man!
Wow, 2 months. How long was FTO?
FTO was pretty much, what is it? I want to say 3 months, 4 months.
Mhm.
It was a standard FTO.
Yeah,
Yikes.
ours was 6 months, 5 months, and then a month on evaluation.
Okay, yeah. I think I was 3 months and 2 weeks on evaluation.
I was 12 months.
Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah, everybody else was 2 months.
Yeah, they had to put you through twice, pal.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, our standard FTO. I worked with an FTO for 12 months. They didn't let us.
Wow.
I didn't get to drive in the car alone or any of that stuff. Nothing.
Oh, you know what? When I had a trainee come in the car, they'd be like, "Hey, when do I get to drive?" I go, "Well, do you have a driver's license?" Yeah. Okay. I don't need to teach you how to drive. Just sit there and shut up.
I didn't get to drive for 6 months, man.
Oh,
They
yeah.
treated us like crap.
Yeah.
It was
Wow.
great though.
Yeah, holy mackerel. No,
The
I worked with guys who, once they got done with the academy, they just went back to the department and they were handed the keys.
Wow.
And they're like, all right, you know how to be a cop, go ahead.
I didn't get to drive for 6 months, but there was a time. Mike, do you remember when there was no cages? Did you always have cages? Do you guys always have cages in the cars?
Yeah, except I think those Ford LTD2s that were little rockets with no brakes. Hated those things.
But
I
they were
don't.
fast.
Yeah, they were fat. I don't think those had cages, and they're so small. You're sitting there, and the guy's breathing on the back of your neck, right? But
Mhm.
two big deputies trying to get in and out. They had to like push each other out of the car.
I don't think LAPD got cages till the 90s or something like that. But
Yeah.
one time I accidentally got to drive because my partner said, "You know what? I'm going to get in the back seat." I got no story to that, but he said he was going to get in the back seat. He goes, "You go and drive." And this is the TO that said, "Well, I got in the car." He said, "Don't touch anything." Okay, so I just sat there, not doing anything. So he gets in the back seat. I do not recall anything from that, but I had not driven a police car. So then the car's on, it's in park, and I released the parking brake, and the hood popped up.
He goes,
you go.
Okay, I'm getting in the front seat of the car now. Well, did your guys' cars lock from the inside when you got in the back seat? So you
No,
would've had-
it was the manual ones. You had to push the thing down. There was no
No,
power
ours
windows
is-
or anything.
I mean, ours automatically locked from, gosh, the first day I started. I think I was in a '78 Nova. I think when you got in the back seat, which was fast, it was lickety split, and it was better than that Ford LTD2. But I guess they stopped making them, and then we went to the Malibus, which I was happy with Malibus.
I was working a patrol. I was working a report car one night, and I got to drive that little tiny LTD. Donovan, are you familiar with it? They were like tiny.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
But my gosh, they were pieces of crap, but they were rockets.
Yeah, with no brakes. That was a scary car to drive because, I worked at Firestone, which is inner city, really short blocks and a lot of people around. And you step on the gas, next thing you know, you're going 95 around a turn and you try to brake and it's like, you're like a train trying to stop. It just keeps going and going and going. Hated those cars. Oh,
Yep. When I got on patrol, we had the Chev Caprice with the Corvette engines in them.
Oh,
And those babies got up and went. Yeah.
yeah.
Were those the whale tails or no?
Yeah.
With a whale tail? Look
Yeah.
like Shamu?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Remember they were the first ones that had the wheel covers on them. When you take a corner too fast, the wheel cover goes shooting down the road.
It goes faster than you do? Yeah.
Yeah, it does. But man, those cars with the Corvette engine, I worked for the sheriff's department, and man, I got up on the interstate. I'm like, let's see how fast this thing can go. And whew, I remember seeing about 150, and I'm like, I better slow her down.
Man.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Before my time, Mike, you probably remember this is from the 60s. But anyways, before my time, there was these cars. They were I don't even remember what they were. If they were Matadors or something like that, they had like 454s in them. And they're the ones with no power steering. They had these huge engines, and they were freeway flyers or something they called them. And those cars, they were legendary. I never saw one.
Oh, the big Plymouth?
I thought it was a Matador or something like that.
I know we had Matadors too, but there was this big ass Plymouth, and it was like, you get on the highway and it just kind of roll like this. And one of the stations I was at, they had a crew that would have to go out every night and drive up and down the freeway and put miles on it so they could get rid of it.
Please drive this car.
True story. And that's when it was like, I think 90,000 miles. Now I don't even think there's a limit now because of budgetary stuff and everything. They're driving around a bunch of clunkers. Yeah.
I remember there was like a leftover AMC Matador on the lot, and I had to drive it for some reason, and I didn't know anything about them. But I started the car up, and I was just going to tootle off, and I turned the wheel, and it didn't move. There was no power steering. And so you had to have that car moving before you kind of were able to, But these old-time coppers, the ones from way in the back when, there were coppers who started in the 50s when I started. And they didn't have no power steering, they didn't have power windows, they didn't have air conditioning in the cars. And so we were, when I think, oh, my power window doesn't work, this is so screwed up. And those guys, man, they were long sleeve, 100% wool uniforms in the summer, all that stuff. So they were kind of badasses back in those days.
Our cars, when I first started, they had air conditioning, but all the OGs that we rode with, they insisted that you drive with the windows down so you can hear crime. Right, when you're driving along, and it works. You're driving along at night, and you can hear a window break, or you can hear somebody, a baby crying, or something. But man, you're out there in 100-degree days in South Central LA with your windows rolled down, wearing long sleeve shirts, sweating bullets, and the guy next to you is just like, oh man, good times.
They're crazy times, man. I just, like I said, I wish I had written that stuff down, or they got these with their cell phones out now. They can take pictures of all kinds of stuff, but yeah, we didn't have any of that.
Well, when I keep going back, when I started, they had the radio in the car that did 21, 22, 23, William Henry. And that was it. You got out of the car and chased somebody, you were on your own. No handheld radios, nothing. And it all seemed to work, though. You knew what you were doing. Did you go on traffic stops and hang the mic out the car door? Yeah, you turn on the PA on your car, and then you hang it out on the light bar. I mean, on the spotlight, so you know where it's at. Yeah. Man, that brings back stories too. Great stuff. Oh, I love it. Loved it. Donovan, you still were in when you retired. All the young kids, they got these cool vests on. I see these outside vests. I don't know what you call them, but then
external carriers.
They have all kinds of crap on their vests. There's so much equipment.
Yeah. So when I'm at the academy teaching, and they come in with these vests, they have everything. They have like a light that's mounted on their shoulder, and in the back it like blinks red and blue, and in the front it like shines. And they're like, "Oh, look at that!" I'm like, "You got to be kidding me!" I'm like, "Give me my old like D-cell flashlight. That's what I need. That's what gets me through." Yeah, and, Streamlight, baby. Yeah, they have these like teeny tiny little lights. I'm like, well, someone comes at you, what are you going to do? Just kind of like tap them with it? I mean, something. Shine it in their eyes, right?
Distract them while you get in the car and drive away.
You must comply.
It's a trip now. Looking at these kids now in the academy, and I mean, they have to have all the top of the line stuff,
Well, there's not even a spot on their belt all the way around, all the way around the Sam Brown. There's something hanging out of it. It might be like a dishwashing machine, or they've got other stuff going on. And it's like, what do you do with all that crap? they got gas masks hanging off of them. They all carry Narcan now,
Mhm.
right? I guess you need Narcan for a reason, but
Yeah,
they,
and
they go through that a
no,
lot.
saps are not allowed anymore.
What? Why?
Oh, come on, a sap? Are you kidding me? That'd be too mean.
I still have my sap. I have
Did
my
you-
sap. It's in my living room. You never know.
Which one did you get? Well, when I got out of the academy, back in the day when I started, they gave us the one that was called the 415. There's a 415, 245, and the 187 SAP, right? All made by Gonzalez. That's a plug for Gonzalez. But the 415 was like this little dinky thing that was on a spring that went, ring, 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 ring. And if you'd hit him, it'd snap back and hit you instead, right?
Yep.
So-
Had a big one ounce lead in it or
Yeah,
something like that.
they were worthless, but the 245 was a solid tool.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm assuming that probably had like a couple ounces of lead in it. But boy, but I always, you know what? I always resorted to my flashlight for illumination, if you know what I mean. But
We were-
because it's just aircraft aluminum, you know, you can't break it.
We were talking about that one time when I first got a stream light
Mhm.
when I was on probation, and you didn't do anything. You know, you didn't drop that light because the bulbs were super
they were
expensive.
$20,
and the
yeah.
What was the flashlight was like $100 in 1980. That was like $5,000 today,
Mhm.
and so you didn't want to break that bulb.
That's why you turn it around and you have the part that lights in your palm, and you accidentally strike them with the other part of it, right? So
Mhm.
you don't break the bulb. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was. I used that up for a long time. Now what are the flashlights like now, Donovan? Because they seem like you could light up a city block with them now.
You can. I mean, they have the lumens that they have on those things now are incredible, but the sizes vary so much as, you know, how big they are. There's some that are barely fit in the palm of your hand, you know,
Yeah.
and again,
Yeah.
I'm still one. I'd like to have something in my hand that if it goes, I'm gonna be able to have something to use as a other than trained technique with a tool that's in my hand, not with a little tiny little flashlight, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a couple of those around the house. You know, these little dinky thing looks like pins, and they put out more light than my Streamlight ever did. But you just feel like a wimp carrying it around.
Right. Well, then they're like, well, I'll just pull out my expandable baton. I'm like, you hit someone with that thing one time, you're going to find out how worthless that thing is.
Yeah, they call them stingers, I think, right? The stinger baton.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never carry. I stayed with the old hickory.
Well, you know, we started out with the wooden baton.
Hmm.
Then we got the side handle, the Yawara one, but it was made out of some polymer.
Hmm.
And if they got hot, they would bend like a banana.
They would.
And then you got rid of those because, you know, swinging a stupid thing. But then they went to the good one. They went to the Monadnock, which was aluminum. Which, but still, I mean, you're out there. You feel like a knucklehead trying to swing that thing with the Yawara handle instead of just like a baseball bat.
Uh-huh.
But what I would do is I would turn it around and use it like a tomahawk, and that was much more effective.
Yeah, we started out with the straight stick,
Mhm.
and then a couple months in, they gave us the Monadnock, but it was that plastic one.
Right.
And then when I finally was able to put on my big boy pants, and I bought an aluminum one.
Mhm.
And then I was not supposed to have. You remember the little swivels on the bottom of the handle?
Yeah.
I had one of those. I didn't get the memo that said you're not supposed to have the swivel like that, but
Oh.
nobody told me.
So in theory, it sped it up and didn't twist it in your hands. Then, right?
No,
Is that what it was
no,
for?
but you needed to. It was a ring on the bottom.
Mhm.
It just swiveled, and you just
Yeah,
swivel
okay.
away. But you can't just let it go willy nilly and hit yourself all over the place either. That's not good.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So,
But I
so
want-
you guys never used the expandable baton then at all?
I didn't.
No.
I don't know if LAPD. They sound familiar, but they look wicked cool when you pull them out and you go.
They look wicked cool, but you use it one time on someone and the thing is bent. You can't. you try to put it back, collapse it back. It won't. That's why I just went with the old hickory. I just every time they'd come around with training and stuff. I was the one walking in with my straight stick, and I'm like, "This is what I'm using. I ain't using that little piece." I mean, it's aluminum, I think. I don't know, but it just bent every time I
No.
used
Is
it.
that
On
the
someone.
asp? The
Yep.
Well,
the
go-
asp- Yep.
Oh, okay. As I remember, they were also calling it the Stinger, but
Yeah. I think
Who
they did
knows?
for a while.
it shows how far back, I've been out of
Mhm.
the game. In fact, when I left, we still had just the PR-24, and that was it. And then one day, I just noticed patrol kids were carrying this little, whatcha thing with it that expanded. But the trouble with it was, as it expanded, it got narrower and narrower,
Mhm. Yeah.
and it's just this little thing that you're swinging. It just, whatever.
Yep. And
You
that's
know,
why it bends so easy, because all of a sudden it ends up being this little tiny piece of metal, and there's nothing to support it, and it bends. So we never
it
used
was
that
for
thing.
effect. You're supposed to
That's-
scare the people.
Had to
Well,
be, yeah.
It's probably for that thing nowadays where they want you to reach down and tap them on the calf, or hit them on the thigh and make some kind of jerk motion with their leg or whatever. Instead of just like crushing something, they want you just to tap it.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's a way to do it.
Get someone's attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does this mean? What does this mean, Captain Mike?
West Hollywood Deps use them backwards. It's the same thing. It's a tomahawk theory, right? You just spin
Oh.
it around and hit them with the handle of it. But still, I mean, it would just bust off in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's like at the end of it, it's like a car antenna. It's so thin, and I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna get all sweaty hitting somebody, you might as well do it with the right tool.
Is that what they still use now?
Last I heard, it was the same collapsible baton. Yeah.
Are they issuing that in the academy, Donovan?
Most departments are issuing those, yeah. Yeah, that's most of our defensive tactic training up here is based on the expandable baton now, yeah.
Because they don't work?
Exactly.
People love them. I don't know. I never liked them.
Well, they look less intimidating when you
They
pull
do.
it out, and you're pulling out this car antenna, instead of a big old club of wood. They're like, the guy's like, "Oh, I think I can survive this one," and you ended up breaking the baton, and then you have to end up using your little teeny flashlight, and then that doesn't work. What do you got?
Right.
Right. Okay, I'll hit him with a taser.
You may
Tasers
have
are
to
good.
actually fight.
Well, yeah. Well, you go through that. What is it? The pendulum of what you start out with. Like
Mhm.
telling them to knock it off, grabbing them to knock it off, punching them to knock it off, stinger with knock it off, and I guess that's why you end up capping somebody at the end, right? There's nothing left.
Well, what happens? They come up with all these wazoo technologically advanced, weapon. Well, I guess they're weapons, but they're defensive weapons. And and then they go, okay, this is how you use it, and you go, wow, 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 and then so that's what you learn, right? You learn, wow, 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 and then when you get out there and someone gets hurt because you use the weapon, they go, ho, hold on now.
Well, you know what? It's not. I don't think they test them well enough in the real world. I remember they used to have that thing for getting dusters and trying to corral them. It was this system where you had a couple of poles with a net. You try to put it on them and flip them around, and I mean, the guy has Herculean strength to begin with, and then you're going to give him a couple of poles to swing around. But those, they come and go, and it's somebody gets this wild technological hair up their ass, and they come out with something that ends up being a piece of crap, and it just slowly disappears, and they get something else.
Didn't they have a few years ago where it was called a bolo wrap or something, and it would shoot out these two big balls and go around?
It's
Yeah.
still out there, and it doesn't have ball. It's actually got fish hooks on it. It's like those 3 hooks, that come off of there, and it goes, and it's supposed to hook into the person. And I've got a friend who actually is an instructor, and he's like, yeah, in training it works great. When you do it in the real world, all the cops are getting tore up by these hooks that are as they're wrestling with the person.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All these things that they're trying to make it so you don't touch. The wrap just goes around the legs. So nice.
Yeah. But you still got to end up putting hands on them. So
I think that's where the bolo used to go. It used to either, TJ Hooker it out, or you do some way to get it to spin around their legs, and they're running and they fall down, or you throw your baton while they're running, and it trips. I did that once. It works. I threw my baton at some kid. He was on a skateboard. I threw it, and it hit him just right, knocked him off the skateboard, and he was like, "Wow, that was the best thing I ever saw." I'm like, "Yeah, me too, pal." But
That's legendary. I've only seen that done one time. The guy completely missed. But
thank God I didn't miss, and it worked. I wrote William Shatner, and I said, "Thank you for that."
in real life.
Right?
Oh, that's funny. Well, we're past our hour. Well, we don't have a hard set hour, but still, it's been an hour.
What are you, Mr. Buzzkill?
Yeah.
No, I'm fine. I could go on. I got stories if I remember them.
Well, why don't you tell us a good one so we can hang up with that? I'm serious. A good one. Tell us a good one.
A good story. Mm-hmm. Oh well, I right off the top of my head, I was actually on probation, so they taught me right in the Newton division, and I was working nighttime, and there was this guy that was burglarizing a business or something, and we get there, and he starts jamming out, and he's running, and I'm running. And then he gets to a fence and he does this little, like a spider monkey. And he's like up over this, it was like an 8-foot tall fence. I go, I'm not going to jump over that. That's like a tall fence. So he gets to the other side and I yell at him and I had my gun out, I had my firearm, my official department issued service weapon. And I pointed at him and he's running away and I go, stop or I'll shoot you, MF, like that, the bad word. You can fill in the bad words on your own. So then he stopped. And I'm like, what do I do now? Because I didn't really expect him to stop. And so he stopped. And then they go around, they cuff him up, take him to the car. And just before he gets in the car, I'm there at the car and the back door. And he looks at me and he's like almost crying. And he said, thank you for not killing me. And I'm like, and at that moment, I felt so empowered that I had this power, right? That all I had to say was stop or I'll whatever. And that's when I learned that words matter.
Yeah. The power of positive thinking. You should have said, keep running because I'm not going to catch you. Get home to mama.
Oh, man. Good times, like you said. Good times.
Yeah, absolutely best career ever. Yeah. It'll kick the crap out of you, but it's the best job to have.
Yeah.
Or at least
do you have any?
It was.
Now we're old. Donovan's still very young.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone makes fun of me for being old when I'm at the academy. I'm like, I'm retired now. How many more years you got? And so,
right. Yeah. It's a good paycheck for doing nothing.
Yep. I'm enjoying it now. So,
yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Donovan about going to Italy, running with a torch, Special Olympics, what it feels like to get shot? I ask him out all the time. What did that even feel like? I don't want to know really, but we're glad you're still here, Donovan. Appreciate it.
I am too.
If you guys have anybody that wants to get on the job and listen to the Police Applicant Podcast, Donovan is the co-host. Him and I meet up and co-host the podcast. So that's what's happening now.
Yeah, every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, is that it, Mike?
Well, I will say that we're going to be back next week. I think after that, we're going to go every other week. But I plan on having a totally cool, awesome guest like this guy here next week. But we just have to figure out which one. There's so many good stories to tell, and there's so many cool things that are going on. Scary things too nowadays. But keep watching, and you will learn.
You will learn more. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Because
please. It's free. Just do it.
Yeah, it doesn't cost anything to like and subscribe.
Yeah. Well,
and
yeah.
Donovan, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, wait a minute. Did you go over it? Did you go over 1,000 on your podcast, Ken?
We did. We're at 1,006.
Where is my $12?
$12 in your account, just like that.
Okay.
And they tell you they tell you that, okay, now you're monetized. Congratulations and all this. And then they send you to the website, to the studio to, activate your monetization. And then they go, okay, you just need to meet this threshold now. And
Oh,
that's kind of, God bless you, gentlemen. And thank you. Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate you. And we're going to be back next week with a special guest, almost as special as Donovan.
no one will come. No one will even meet up to that threshold. But
Yeah.
half of it is that psychedelic background you got going on, man.
Right. And the other half is that you got to meet the humble hero, right?
Oh,
He doesn't have those bats in the background though.
yeah.
So, but yeah, next week, guys, we're going to be back next week. We hope you're enjoying the show. Leave comments and let us know if you're enjoying us, and we'll keep doing that. If you encourage us, we're going to come back.
Oh, that's a warning.
Okay, you just so you know.
Oh man, you just gave up the plan. All right.
All right, guys, we will see you later.